So we have three panelists with me, like Chris and Michał. You will introduce yourself. Uh, just a reminder, Chris, senior development algorithms manager at NVIDIA. Me, our AI architect at IEM, and we also have Adam Kaczmarek with us. Adam works as a senior machine learning engineer at SoftwareMill in recent people. So welcome. And I'm Zbigniew Skolicki. I work at Virtus, focusing on AI recently. Okay, so very interesting talks that we heard so far, and the talks were mostly about the technology, right? Because I don't know, we deal with technology, but the machine learning, it's not just the technology; it needs to actually be implemented in some real life, right? So hence the name of the panel, by the way, machine learning, productionization in organizations, balancing data maturity, business, revenue investment, technology, and processes. Okay, so now I hope that will not end up with an answer. It depends on my question that they have, but all this technology that we talk about so far is good, right? But at the end, if you work in a regular company, which doesn't necessarily does just IT, but I sells cars, right, or sells book, does different kind of thing like this, that they want to use machine learning, right? And they don't know, what's a good investment, and this comes down, I think, to at least two things, right? One is what they should invest in. But also, second thing is, do they actually trust machine learning, right? Because I think, a lot of those systems, and especially the recent ones, they tend to hallucinate. But also the previous techniques, right? You're never sure, maybe you have some better guarantees, but you're not sure how well it is, right? So maybe as a warm up, let me maybe start with asking, how much do you personally trust machine learning? And maybe, do you use any advanced machine learning in your private life?
I mean, writing text like works really well with with ChatGPT or whatever it is, right? Like it's quite cool if you want to write an email or just improve the style and the grammar. So yeah, I do that. I do use DeepL for translation. I'm not from Poland, so living here for 20 years, and I can speak some Polish, but when it comes to writing a letter, and let's say to some urząd, right, like to some more official place, I cannot do it. I lack the grammar and the orthography, like I can't do it, but I use DeepL, and it works really well. So I would say, yeah, there are definitely applications, of machine learning that are extremely useful, right, even in private life, right?
Yes, so my turn. I also use AI on my daily life. I trust the results, but to some extent. So, for example, like for basic things, to summarize text, to create something like in the specific form. For example, I need some abstract for the conference, sometimes for the scientific paper. I've got the points, I've got the half paper ready, and I would like to create like abstract, which is the text summarization in some specific form. It works well. Even for the translation, I use BLE model, which can do the translation. I put the Polish word and let's translate this to the English. Why? Because it's private. So I cannot, I don't need to send that data somewhere. So I use this, but I always keep the human in the loop. So I always check the output, I correct this, and I'm not trusting AI to that extent to allow the making some decision.
Yeah, I think the part of keeping human in the loop is crucial here. And I think most of the applications we are using most of the AI products are some kind of keeping human in the loop. But I mean, it doesn't always depend on the application in terms of trust. And I think about this machine for preparing hot dogs that fails miserably. I think you all know this video, so it's simple task with almost no risk, but it still isn't trustworthy. And in many applications, like in let's say what's counterintuitive is, for example, in medicine, there are applications like the allergic tests where it's not hard to replace doctor because the doctor only looks at the hand and says, is the reaction larger than some threshold or not? And that's all they do. So replacing human in medicine is not that hard in some cases. So I think there are various cases, and trust maybe does not always depend on the risk, let's say. And from the perspective of like everyday use, I think that we also can meet text to speech on everyday basis on the railway station.
Okay, but you don't let ML do your finances and investments. No.
I'm not sure if ML wouldn't be better than me in my investments, but yeah, it would definitely give some. I think that's up to extent that it gives some insights. I mean, it's all about the risk management in finance. So I think there are some limits on the amount of money that you could trust to the AI, and just yeah, the money you can. So, yeah.
Okay.
At least.
All right. So we trust the ML to some extent, obviously privately. But now there are the organizations, right? And so as I already mentioned, I'm not sure if this is the best split of it between all the possible aspects. But let's focus on those four which are behind us. I can read again for you. So data maturity, business revenue on investment, which means costs basically, technology, and processes. So processes, I guess, source organizations. So which is there any one of them which is the biggest blocker, I think, for implementing Minicom? Like what are the red flags? You come to the company and they want to use machine learning. What are the red flags?
I mean, I would say clearly it's data maturity, right? It's really hard if you are a business and your goal is to make money or make sure that company survives, right? So you are collecting data, but you're not collecting it in a very how to say it, in a very systematic fashion, right? So you change very often, right? Like Light is very, very agile, very adaptive. So you collect data, but if you look back over several years, the data is very, very heterogeneous. It's not, collected in the same way. It just changed, right? Like, so, and also you never collect all the circumstances, right? Like, so let's say I worked for a company that deals with airlines, right? There are actually a few more people here that did work in the company as well, or still work, right? So just saying from the viewpoint, we work with the airlines as a customer, and they collect a lot of data. They have databases, right? But basically their tech stack was growing over the years, changing over the years. And just getting that data that you say you have it stored somewhere, but you see that every few months something has changed, right? The way they collect it. And you need a lot of due diligence, a lot of human intelligence to Krzysztof worked there, for example, sitting here, to reinterpret this data, right? To clean this data, to make it available. So I think data is one of the main blockers to to adopt AI ML in a large scale setting. Let me rephrase. It's very hard to take ML and it works out of the box, right? Because your data is never as clean as it needs to be for ML to work in a good way. The question is more or less, can we over time get clean machine learning or AI that is so good that it can really sort things out for us, right? Like that before only a human could sort out. I'm not sure. It might be, it might not be, right? Is there AGI in 2 years or not? I don't know that, right?
Maybe you don't need AGI, maybe the less are the next step towards cleaning and extracting the
Yeah, maybe.
Yes, so I have another view that the main thing which is blocking companies, it's the lack of use cases. It's connected with lack of advocating in the company about the ML, because sometimes in the company we've got the great team of the data scientists. They know their job. They have great tools. They now also there is like lower barrier to entry. Like you can sign up for GPU in the cloud. You don't need to buy it. So let's say that the infrastructure and the technology is not blocking you, but at the end of the day, the CEO or the decision maker wants to have like the results. How we will use it. And this is another point, like, okay, sometimes great teams tends to focus more on the research part rather than on the application. So if you put that balance on the wrong side, you will spend 2 years working on some project, doing great research, from the research and science perspective, doing great things. But after that 2 years, the world will be different and that problem will be solved or will change something. At the end of the day, this is my feedback or like advice for any leader in the company: just advocate, make the decision makers informed. What are the capabilities? What are your ideas about this? Let's do proof of concepts. Let's do MVP and on the small budget, limited time, and we will see if it's promising or not. So doing this way will be much better rather than requesting for the budget for the 3 years of research, buying some expensive hardware, and the results will be not confident, let's say. So lack of advertising and advocating ML in the company. This is the main blocker, I think.
I would also being a lawyer.
Yes. Yeah, sort of.
I think I can like connect these two viewpoints because I think the problem that often stops the machine learning projects and applications from productionizing is collecting data without use case. So you are collecting data, you don't have the use case. So when you think about use case, you've got a bunch of data and they are not prepared, not annotated in a way that is appropriate for even fine-tuning model. Because the truth is that many of the models that are even pre-trained on open data and you can use it commercially, the data that is used is often from different distribution than the final data you are using in a product. And if you have data that was collected and nobody thought about what data we need to collect and how we need to collect that to make it useful for machine learning, you can end up with a bunch of data that you can't really use to train anything useful.
Okay, thanks. But those are the ideal situations, right? If you start collecting the data when you know the point, I don't know, it may take a long time, right? Also, if you want to clean up all the data before you start and then doing the machine learning, you may never actually get there, right? So I know it's a hard question, but any hints or any signs that okay, we are mature enough to do machine learning, or we have enough data to do machine learning, or vice versa? We should clean more or collect more.
I think it's what you said, right? It's the use case. What you want to do, right? Like, if you know that, I think that you can start to look for the data, right? And think about it. I mean, it's still, for example, now for the LLMs, I see one of the really huge use cases is definitely everything legal, like everything working with legal documents, which is usually, like lawyer hours are extremely expensive. They need extreme amounts of documents searched or understood and interpreted, right? So that's definitely something where I see a lot of money in, and where the data is there, right? I think also on the medical side, there's a lot of data there that we need more. How to say, it's not collected in a proper way, but if I see now what you can do, for example, interpreting handwritten documents, like there's a lot of how to say it, a lot to gain, right?
It's a super hard case, right?
And
Nice doctors, right?
the doctor's right, yeah, because the same thing can mean 5 different, the same, I don't know, rape, like, yeah, can mean 5 different things, right? Like, the other thing where I see AI can do a lot, and the data, the data is there is coding, right? Like, I believe we will get a lot of automated coding, within the next 2-3 years, right? It's already, it has started already, and it's advancing at an extreme pace. And even that the data in some sense is also dirty, but dirty, like unstructured, right? The people work on that, right? But I think, especially what you're asking is more like in the everyday company, what they can do. And my answer is still I think they need really to look where's the ROI, right? Like the return on investment, right? Where there is a good opportunity. But I think they are not creative. I still am positive in the sense that I think we are not looking creative enough.
You will never be ready for this. Like always, you will have new data which is unstructured. Yeah, without the need, the business need of doing this, you will not have time, budget, priority, and so on. But let's imagine like we've got some idea together, let's say, for some use case. We don't have even data for this. And now it's really interesting use case for the large language models because we can generate some artificial data there. I know it's not perfect, but especially with the larger ones, we may try to generate, okay, we don't have 50 medical records for the patients because of the license, privacy, and so on. We would like to do some application on top of this. Machine learning or generative AI. So we can generate that models. I tried this with the Llama 405 billion. It was kind of better than the me will be sitting down and trying to make up that documents. So we can also like generate artificial data to start, to check if it's worth or not. So definitely technology is not blocker here.
Yeah, I think we need to be a bit more careful with the artificial data. But yeah, I mean, as a mean of augmenting something that we can, yes, but yeah, with LLMs we've got this case that you can have a average person look at some text and say, yeah, it looks good. And this is the effect of reinforcement learning with human feedback. That for average person something looks plausible, good, but one specialist looks at it, he says that nothing makes us. I will be careful with that.
Okay. What about the organization of the company? Data is one thing, right? But then if organization is split into silos, right? Or if I know this is a traditional thinking, right? But there's some other ways of aspects of the company that sometimes things will work better and sometimes things will work less, right? Because what I think people try to do with machine learning, and maybe for good reason, right, is they try to replace the existing components or parts in the company. Let's replace data calculator. Let's replace data transformation and so. But maybe people just don't see enough, right? Maybe there are some more. Maybe there are some other low-hanging fruits, but not easily visible. Right? Maybe you should somehow change from the company works, so that you can use machine learning more effectively. I mean, it's again a general question, but do you have any such observations?
I've seen a few situations like this. So I have my observations. Like first thing, especially when the company or organization is large, so we've got different departments with the competing goals, own standards, and also like keeping data inaccessible between them. So sometimes it will be much easier just to cooperate, to have some all data, for example, from the company in some central place. It will be much easier just to build on top of this. So especially that we sometimes we can call it data silos. That data is distributed across the company departments, and this is like sometimes blocker that the teams don't want to cooperate because there's some other priorities and so on. So I think this is a blocker also.
Okay, but maybe it's unrealistic to think that it will be essential place.
Yes, but also like from the data engineering point of view, now I know everything is covered by the generative AI, the hype. But a few years ago, it was the concept of data lake, the data warehouses, data lakehouse. So this is the approach just to create some ground to gather the data, structured, unstructured, in some central place for the company. So this is not new concept. And from data engineering, I know some companies successfully did this. And this is the good starting point for automation, for building process automations, training machine learning models, maybe now some generative AI fix.
Okay, and maybe if people cannot communicate, maybe you can use machine learning to communicate with each other,
Maybe.
Okay. All right. So the different, common solutions that showed up recently, right? For example, RAC, right? Or some chatbots or some, text summarization. Like, there are there are obviously a lot of possible solutions. What do you think like a CEO maybe, or like somebody who is responsible for implementing, machine learning in an average company? I'm not talking about the IT company. I'm talking all the time about the company that which primary goal is not to IT, right? What do you think they should pay special attention to? What's the most developing what agents maybe? Or they should just seek the good old ML with predictions and forecasting, and just stay away from that old of the new mic.
I will say it depends. I can say what I wouldn't advise is to replace customer service with chatbots, because many people probably as like me would tend to like switch to the mode. Oh, I'm talking with computer, so I'm switching to very limited language just to give some commands and not to be understood necessarily. But yeah, I mean, I would say that sometimes it's better to think of a smaller model, not to go for just the bigger model, the biggest model there is. Sometimes sometimes XGBoost is enough.
From the consultant perspective, I can say like, without we will go to the technical details, like why do you want to do this? Do you want to save money? Do you want to automate processes? Do you want to reduce or improve the capacity of your team? I don't know, something like this, and then we can work out some plan. And at the end will be the technology. It could be sometimes the rule-based old good system. It could be the classical ML, it could be generative AI, but this is like in the background from my perspective. So first, the need, then we can get some importance, time and budget, and then we can propose something, do some pilot or something like this. Depends on the company.
Yeah, I see this. I mean, the question is very generic, right? Like which company, right? Like what type of company? I still think everything in the, let's say marketing, everything where you generate text, right? Like where you produce text, even where you produce media. I mean, video, images, news, right? Like I think it will change a lot there. The generative AI in some form will definitely do changes. I also believe the movie industry will be it will be changed, right? And just recently I saw that you basically can do the full lip sync and mimic sync, right? Which basically allows you at some point to create a traditional movie with much, for a fraction of the cost. So I think things will up level. You know what I mean? Like some of the more, let's say like stuff that used a lot of work and was very time consuming. Now less people can do it, which means of course now work is getting more, shifting more to the creative level, that you really get new, I mean creative level, like having new original ideas, which I don't think the LLMs will do now, right? Like at least not as they are now, but they're really good in kind of translating your idea into something, right? And I think they will get much better within relatively short time, and I mean 1 to 3 years, right? So yeah.
If I only could refer to the like discovering the client needs.
Yeah.
I think I agree with Kristen. We need to get more creative in like creating the needs, or like proposing the solutions to the needs that the client not necessarily knows he has. Because yeah, I mean we know what AI can do, and our clients maybe don't. Maybe they know less about what AI can do. So we also need to show them what AI can do for them. So it's not for me. It's not that simple that you go to client and say, yeah, what do you need? What do you need? We should go and say like, we've got AI that can help you in this, and in this.
Okay, cool. So what I create so far is focusing on a clear goal, spending a lot of time and money, I guess, on preparing data and cleaning it up. I guess you're not worried about the technology side. Are you worried as well about the maturity of some tools and platforms and so on?
Maybe we are biased in this group, but yes, like you said, I think we've got amazing technologies available, along with the skills and talent in this room even. So we know how to do things, but sometimes we need to have some inspiration or idea how to make that technology work for some business case in company. So that's the creative part, definitely.
Okay. Are the ML platforms mature enough to just use them, or you have to build customers, or it depends again, or are they getting consolidated? What's your appeal?
Oh, miserable question. I think there's more, that there's so much choice in platforms and tools that hardly anyone knows everything, right? And that's again a niche, right? Like think about it. Think about Google, right? Like Google search, right? Like it was a real game changer, right? In the sense you can Google information, and
By the way, do you use Google or Perplexity?
both. Okay. Google was really good, right? At its time, and now there's more choice coming up, right? Still, I think even in the sense like that the AI starts to give you suggestions, right? You have an idea, you have a creative idea, but you are not the one that could do it before, right? Like could implement it or at least start to bring it on the way. And now basically you can get this information, more easily. And there's kind of this, how to say it, maybe it's very wishful thinking that the $1 billion company created by a single person. And I'm not yet ready to rule it out that it couldn't happen, right? I think it can happen if we didn't see it yet. So yeah, I think I'm more a techno optimist, right? Okay.
And from like more technical standpoint, I would say that it's not as much a maturity of the technological stack that's important here, but the support, the community it has, and like there is this problem raising with the older libraries like scikit-learn or matplotlib, that there are like 7 people contributing to that, and so it's important that the new maybe the new technological stuff may be a bit unstable, but it has a much larger community that supports that, and it develops at a pace that I mean you don't need to worry as much on the, let's say, smaller instabilities.
Or so the many tools, but pick the ones which have the community server. Okay. I'm looking at the clock. I mean, we could I guess stop for long, but it's 9:15. We were supposed to finish originally by 9. And think, are there any questions from the audience to the panelists?
Thanks, guys, for this discussion. There was a lot about data maturity, and I have also a question about data. How do you envision this transformation from data for machine learning to data for LLMs? We can already see that input, even to RAGs, you need to rewrite a lot of the text. And I'm using right now LLMs to rewrite the text, and then I'm putting it into embeddings and vector spaces. I'm wondering where you see it's the future for it.
In terms of embeddings, you definitely go to
Event is a problem.
what?
Like typo is a problem.
I think that in terms of typos, it's more like a problem of model choice and the granularity of tokenization. Because there were models that were operating on character level, and they wouldn't care probably as much on the level of typos. I mean, we are getting forward in terms of. I think we will still be figuring out what and how to embed to really maintain like the level of understanding by the model that we want. There was a time that we were embedding numbers as all zeros because it was too much just to fit all different numbers to language models. So we said let's replace that with zeros and say, yeah, there's some number here, some number there. There were some embedding cases that like embeddings tend to group together for rare words, and that there was like rare word club in some space, some subspace of the embedding space. But I think we are getting better and better. A bit going to more like symbolic reasoning and combining that with embeddings. There are also other approaches to like embedding the knowledge with hierarchical structures. There were attempts like Poincare embeddings. So I think we are, despite of the fact that BPM is like 100 years old, we are getting somewhere. And I mean, from our perspective, it's also interesting because for Polish, first word to back embeddings were like you've got whole vocabulary with occurrences, like one occurrence in the whole corpus of this form. We are getting better and better. Sometimes by revising past concepts, sometimes getting a bit forward. So I think we will still need to think at the basic level of the embeddings. What are we embedding and what the embedding is representing and how it should relate to something. And the fun fact is that it's quite opposite from what I know to how we form words in our brains. So we have a concept of something and we name it just to for optimization purposes. And in language models, we need to figure out the meaning of the word that we are using.
And what about ROI and how companies are good to calculate this ROI? And moreover, how many pilots, proof of concepts, gets to productions on your experience?
I can pick it up. Yes, so ROI, it's complex thing because you can imagine big company which has big product, and we've got one ROI like profit, for example, or like sales volume. You can imagine like some e-commerce shop. So it's not easy to measure this thing because a lot of things are going on in the same time. We've got some marketing campaign. We just introduced new design of the page. And at some point, we just introduced like, let's say, new search or like new customer support with generative AI. So actually, this is not trivial thing because at the end of the day, you will see it's about the marketing campaigns attribution, let's say. So there is the whole science about this. And it's difficult to measure how that implementing that new generative AI capability, some feature on the platform impacted the sales or like customer satisfaction. So there are the specific models. I spent some time doing this about how to measure impact of different things to the final result using game theory and so on. So there is a lot of things you can do this, but this is definitely not trivial. So actually you have to think about this as a one touch point across the user journey. For example, for e-commerce, and we fix that. And after a year, we've got some incremental effect of this. So definitely, we cannot measure like, okay, we implemented new functionality with Gen AI, our sales came up 5%. You will not get that number. This is not so easy. I can recommend some reading on that topic, but definitely, like in e-commerce, we've got first click attribution, last click, and so on. So here it will be some multi-channel attribution problem. And the second part of the question was how many pilots goes to the production. I think this year we are now in the phase that many pilots will try to go to the production. I don't have any specific number. I can make up something, but you can imagine like, okay, the whole thing started with the ChatGPT release. Everyone can try it. Then in a lot of companies like started discussion like how we can use it. It was 1-2 years ago. Then it was some budgets dedicated for this, some 1-year pilots, for example, for the companies. And now companies are evaluating pilots and deciding like we will go to the production or not. And then we will need some consultants, some hire more talent, maybe something like this. So it's hard to say, but you can observe like in some places, some single point implementations of Gen AI. Like you write to customer support to some company, you get some answer. It may be from generative AI. You do something else, you see like that point introduction. So I think it is happening now, but I cannot say the number.
Yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, 1 out of N, right? Like 1. And N is not 1 or, something between 2 and 10, right? Like depending on the company, depending on what what you tried, right? I still think try stuff and fail fast is a relatively good advice. And failing fast is not meant in a bad way, but like it's really like have ideas and try them and be cheap. I mean, how to say it? Be cheap, meaning try to do it with the least effort, right? Like so do not always try to go for the most exclusive or the most sophisticated solution, but go with the lowest hanging fruit you can find. Try it, test it. I mean, and I'm not like not unit testing, but test if someone is using it, right? Like so many companies now, big tech companies, they build internal coding tools. Okay, I know I mentioned that topic already, but they typically see this works, right? Like but then they are testing different features, and 1 out of 3, or I'm making on the number, is sticks, right? Like a lot is discarded and not discarded. It's just not getting traction. So yeah, but I think it's really repeating myself. It's a lot of it's really about creativity, like thinking really forward and trying to go somewhere a bit really beyond what people think before, right? Like I mean, what people are used to before. So I think that is super important, right? Like and I'm coming back to this Nashiva. I mean, doing ML in a company on force just because it's cool. I mean, that's a bad idea, right? Like, but thinking really what can be done. I think there's really lots of stuff that can be done, right? Like okay, coming back to the airline, but not in the company that we have been. But I know companies basically looked at the airline business, and when planes fly, they don't fly the direct freight. They are actually routed from certain points to points, right? And just improving that system by with some kind of forecasting which corridors are used more, right? Like are more frequented and which are less frequented. So routing, like an improved routing, can save globally. I'm making up the number 5% of fuel, right? Like of kerosene for the for the planes. I think there's really a lot of stuff. It makes sense to question existing procedures or ways to do stuff and see if they can be improved, right? So I still believe creativity and curiosity is something that in combination with machine learning and general IT there's still a lot of low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I would say in terms of low hanging fruits that bothers me for a long time is we are focused on autonomous driving with cars, and I think that autonomous driving with trains, yes, much easier. Yeah, but I think there is a middle ground autonomous ships that are carrying very very much load. So, and I mean, how hard can it be? Like not as hard as driving car, I think.
I think the huge ships go with crazily low number of crew. Like these big container ships, I think this is a couple of people are on this. I think already for these large container ships, there's I don't know 20 people just on board, and these ships are huge. Like you can run a marathon. I mean, not a marathon, but like going from one end to the other end is 400 meters or something like that, right? So that's
We might put in the hazard now.
yeah. I think you keep the people on board really for this absolute long tail kind of stuff like hijacking and something like this. But it's a really good example. Trains, trams, right? Like yeah, there's definitely. I mean also like adapting the schedule, right? Is something I think that's not sure if how much it's investigated. Like finding more adaptive scheduling for the MPK is maybe it's something that's worth a shot. I'm not sure where to go for that, right? Like whom to ask.
I would say only one thing. The mayor of Katowice has PhD degree in logistics and transport, and it's this Polish saying, "Szep z butów chodzi."
So let's just give a big round of applause to all the speakers and all the panelists here to Professor. Okay.